Golazo network, and we have some breaking news here this morning coming out of Major League Soccer. According to reports, the Professional Referees Organization is set to lock out referees belonging to the Pro Association after a bargaining agreement with the union fell through. Joining us to discuss it even more is our rules expert, Christina Unkel. Christina, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Just give us your initial reaction to this.
Yeah, pretty much my initial reaction to this is a bit of disappointment, not ultimately surprised, knowing essentially what the negotiations were about and kind of where they were at within this. But disappointed for the fact that Nigel hit it right on the head, that we're going to be having essentially scab or replacement referees most likely joining on Wednesday with some of the best players in the world in this league and individuals who have not been trained or have been working at the highest professional levels. Operating in this type of a capacity, especially for where the league is going and what type of player and talents they have there.
Christina, how surprised are you, being an obviously ex-referee, that the negotiations waited till this long and went to this far, a couple of days before the season starts, for it to break down?
Yeah, very similar to players. Anytime you're talking about a collective bargaining agreement or CBA, it's not as simple or as straightforward as people would like others to believe. There are quite a number of complications with this. There was 2 extensions on the negotiation agreements, latest being February 12th. But what it comes down to is essentially this is very multifaceted. What people are thinking are just referees in and of itself, what people may not understand or be able to appreciate, one because the story is usually not told, is that in this BU1, which is their bargaining unit 1 under PSRA, which has only really been around for 10 years, a referee association representing the rights of the referees, of not just those who are employees, which are just referees, but there's also 3 other layers into it. They are referees, there's assistant referees, there's video match officials now, which we call VMOs, which you all fondly know as VARs. And then we have probationary referees who are trying to get into the league. So as you can imagine, there's a couple of tiers, a couple of different negotiating levels, and there's just different priorities and different perspectives that are being placed on this. So ultimately, it's not that everyone waited for the last second. It has been something that's been in the works for quite a number of months. There's been multiple extensions to get this around the line, but at one point, people have to essentially draw the sand and say, this is our best offer. And then PSRA has to go back to the negotiating committee, present what Pro has offered as its best offer to the union representatives, to the BU1 referees. And then it's they who vote ultimately on whether or not they accept it or not. And as we can see, an overwhelming majority of about 96% have said no to the latest offer that has been provided by Pro.
We've noticed the phrase replacement referees has been used over the course of the last couple of hours, Christina, and I'll ask you the same question I asked Felipe. So what exactly does that mean? Where are these referees going to come from? Who is going to be in charge of the opening game of Major League Soccer on Wednesday?
Yeah, so the individuals that will most likely be, replacement referees, scab referees, will most likely be individuals who are not in the professional environment at this point, have not been part of how PSRA and the union agreements have essentially established themselves. As there's BU1, bargaining unit 1, there's a BU2, bargaining unit 2. Although this is only affecting those officials who are in the BU1, who primarily work in Major League Soccer primarily, those that are in BU2 won't necessarily be affected by this, aside from the fact that there won't be any proposed retaliation if they decide to stand in solidarity with the BU1 referees. So prospectively, and many have already been contacted in this respect, there is a camp next week that the officials were going to go to prior to opening game on Wednesday. So the individuals that will now most likely be attending that are the replacement or scab referees. These may be individuals who are refereeing maybe at a lower level than the BU2. So pre-professional is probably some of the many of the individuals there, individuals who referee collegiate soccer, as well as other individuals who may not have had a chance in the professional realm, might have an opportunity to come into the game under this type of a context and scenario.
Christina, I describe this as amateurish and embarrassing for MLS. Please let us know how much of a difficult situation that these replacement referees or replacement officials are going into this professional game of refereeing MLS games without having the right steps and going through the right procedures to become professional.
Personally, I'm very, very concerned, not just for the players, right, and for fan engagement, but for these individuals, these replacement referees who do accept the offer to go and to officiate. This is what I would at the time, especially this year, called a perfect storm. Not only are they going essentially with less than a week or 2 weeks notice that they're going to be replacing and doing some of these highest level games, refereeing Lionel Messi, right? Individuals in talent and skill level that not many individuals get to referee on that skill set alone. But most importantly, there are new rules that are being applied in Major League Soccer that are being admitted, such as if you don't step off the field within 10 seconds, then you have to wait for 60 seconds. Much of those rules that have not been applied in preseason for MLS preseason due to some pushback from some of the teams in that respect. So what I mean by the perfect storm is you're going to have individuals, replacement referees who have not been training at the highest professional level from both a development, training, clip review, as well as from a physical physique standpoint, from the fitness standards. We forget that these referees at the highest level are full-time professional athletes in the sense of fitness standards, even though the assistant referees that many people know are not full-time employees. They're independent contractors. They still have full-time jobs and elsewhere. But now you have new rules, new individuals, higher eyes, more eyes on this league. It's the perfect storm, to be quite honest, of many things that could go wrong, at least in these opening games, if they don't find it. If they don't come to a solution quickly.
Christina, let's hope not, but we're not potentially talking about a delay to the start of the MLS season here, are we?
No, we're not. The MLS season is going to continue. As we all know, there's a lot of production dollars that go into it. The season will continue. It'll move on. You just may not see the types of official and the level of officiating. And I know when everyone complains about, trust me, I've had to hear it all last year, saying the referees aren't up to par. That is where we have to grow in the sense of our development, our training, and our investments. That is probably one of the biggest points here as the league grows, as the game grows, as there's more eyes, as there's higher talent level. That's essentially what is being drawn on the line. The negotiations, the offers. Many are saying that PSRA has tentatively agreed, so they were confused as to that. Please understand the negotiating committee for PSRA and negotiates the best offer they possibly can, and then it is brought back to the referees. However, the referees have collectively, there's been some language as it's the highest, ever announced negotiating agreement, and that could be interpreted quite differently when you break it down. So the games will go on, but you won't see the same type of referees at this point. And once again, I pray for everyone that everyone is safe and that hopefully all participants in the game and those of us who love watching this game aren't as negatively impacted as it could be.
Christina, for me, with your expertise and your experience, how long do you think it will take for a deal to be resolved? Truly in my background, many people don't know, as I did litigation for quite a long time. And unfortunately, these types of deals take it when there's pressure points and pain points. Here, we're talking about major stakeholders. We're talking about millions of dollars at stake. We're not talking about, we're talking about athletes that are valued exponentially. So when all of a sudden you see a lack of performance from the officiating standpoint, once again, the number one responsibility of an official is the safety of the players at any age level, right? At any level is that what it is. So once safety of players is at risk, once all of a sudden the enjoyment of the game is at risk, stakeholders move very, very quickly in ensuring that they protect their assets. So I don't see this going for too long just because there's way too much at risk for them to be able to basically gamble or risk continuing out this lockout of referees. Christina, I just want to jump on something that you said. I'm not trying to put words into your mouth, but you're 100% right there, because I don't think people realize how difficult a job it is to be a referee, the process it takes to be a referee at the highest level. And when you don't have professionals at that level, players are put at risk because of not being able to be refereed by a professional, with knowing what's a safe challenge, what's not. So just let people know how difficult it is for referees to get at this level and what's at stake for the safety of players.
Yeah, to become a professional referee, that doesn't happen overnight. That's effortlessly working at the lower divisions and moving up, which is an effortless 10 to 15-year progression and development once you decide to take officiating seriously, right? Once you stop refereeing games on the weekend just to earn $300, $400, $500, and you start purposely officiating to get that development and that skill. So it's effortlessly a 10 to 15 year progression, deliberate and intentional to get to the professional levels. One thing I always like to remind people is, right, when people covet Champions League as probably one of the best leagues around in the world or competitions, those who are refereeing those Champions League final average age is 44, 45. So when we talk about, how long it takes to get to the professional level, doesn't happen overnight. It takes a decade effortlessly. And that's not only from clip review, analysis, fitness performance, changing your mindset and creating an environment where you can live and be a true professional referee. Kind of I'll equate it similar to women's professional soccer for the longest time. They've had to work 4 jobs and be a pro soccer player. Like that's a little bit similar to where the referees are in the sense of the compensation. In order for them to be equipped to be properly be able to be on these fields and to be able to deliver high level performances. That's what they're asking for right now. Doesn't happen overnight. And most importantly, every time you level up is what we say, and you get to the next level, the world spins on you. Why? Because the game is faster, the tackles are quicker, the players play at the highest level. There is so much that goes into this that not one could just pick up the whistle and referee.
Christina Unkel, thank you so much for joining us. Really, really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks all.
So, intriguing stuff in the world of Major League Soccer and soccer here in North America. From a player's perspective, Nigel, how worried are you about the safety of some of the individuals on the field?
I think it's great to have Christina on, and she gives you a deeper insight into the sense of a refereeing perspective and what it's like to be a referee. I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for referees, and she brings up a very big point, the safety of players. Being a referee is like being a professional football player. When you go through the ranks and the systems, there's a lot you have to go through to become a professional football player. It's the same aspect as a referee. There's a lot you have to deal with. And now when you talk about getting to the highest level, refereeing in stadiums of maybe 30, 40, 50,000 people and fans, the influence of the fans and how people are, and the safety of players for tackles, what's deemed as dangerous, what's not deemed as dangerous, there's a tremendous amount of pressures on referees. And now the fact you're not going to have professional referees who are physically fit and physically conditioned to referee at the highest level, that's a worry for the player's perspective.
From a referee's perspective, would you perhaps say it's fair to say to the fans to preach patience for the referees? These are not professionals, as you mentioned.
The referees have a right to, deserve to be treated right. I'm not getting into the finer weeds of what the negotiations is about, what's the problem in the negotiations, but the referees have a right to take care of themselves and their situation, to feel valued, because they're part of the game of soccer. They're vital. We have not seen this happen, or an incident like this happen, in any of the other major leagues in world football, because it's organised properly. There's these things, and these deals are done earlier in time to value the importance of the referee, to protect the referees as much as you protect the players.